Jonathan Trout, Linnea Simpson, Devon Ray Litzy, Justin Hummel, Brandon Spalding Henderson, TJ Walden, Sean Arnett, Adam Strout, Jonathan Mattingly, Marcus Miller Jr.,
Jonathan was he was a wonderful child, and he played baseball, and he laughed, and he had fun. He was a wonderful little boy, and things changed.
My son grew up in a good home. He went to Trinity High School. He wanted to be in the military. He was in the military. He wanted nothing more than to fight for his country and live a normal life.
Jonathan was a funny boy. He liked to make people laugh.
And he was great. He had a lot of friends. A lot of people liked him. He had a great personality, a lot of fun, very loyal, very caring. And it was a big, dark black hole that has not been replaced.
He was a great guy, and then as soon as we started doing heroin, both of our lives turned to shit. And when I lost him, and when we all lost him, everything was just really hard. Every aspect of your life is affected.
If you were upset, he was the first one to come up and give you a hug. He'd be the first one to give you the shirt off your back if you needed it.
It's destroyed him, destroyed his mother, made a tremendous heartache for me and my family, and it's something that we'll never get over.
We actually found out in February of 2013 that he was using heroin. He passed away in October. So we didn't have a lot of time. We didn't have a lot of time to try and get him the kind of help that he needed.
He started out with the Oxycontin that he was offered with a group of friends, and quickly became addicted and moved to the drug Opana.
I didn't start out with a needle in my arm. I started out drinking with my friends in high school. I just didn't know that I carried this disease in me, and then once I started, I couldn't stop.
We treated it like a rite of passage, like all teenagers experiment with drugs and alcohol. We did it, and what we didn't realize at the time is that he had a problem.
Jonathan started out cigarettes, went to marijuana, went to prescription medicine, and when he could no longer get the supply of prescription medicine he wanted, then I guess he went to heroin.
Gabriel was 31 years old when he overdosed on heroin, and he started using, drinking alcohol and using marijuana when he was in high school, probably about his sophomore year.
I think it started when he was probably early teens, sort of experimenting, and I'm sure it was sort of a gradual thing. I'm sure he started with marijuana and then that moved on to something else. His drug of choice was alcohol.
I mean, he had always had problems using pot, smoking pot and stuff. And, you know, we tried to talk to him about it, but we never would have dreamed it would have went into where it went as far as the pain pills and then into with heroin.
You know, it started with the alcohol and the marijuana. And I always felt like I didn't fit in. Like my skin was maybe 2 sizes too big or 2 sizes too small. I always felt like I wasn't good enough or I was better than. I was never even.
The current heroin crisis in Kentucky is a direct result of the prescription drug epidemic.
Just keeps rising. It's one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen.
This is truly the worst drug epidemic we've ever had in our nation and in Kentucky. Here at the medical examiner's office, we see at least 1 death a day someplace in the state due to drugs.
The CDC is calling this the worst drug epidemic that our country has ever faced.
It's like having the flu times 1,000. You're hot, you're cold, you're restless, you can't sleep no matter how much you want to, or as soon as you do go to sleep, your body aches uncontrollably, you throw up, you can't keep food down, and you're so dehydrated and hungry, and it sounds like such a good idea and you can't. Then you have that thought, that ever-racing thought, that monster in there that says just use more. Watching somebody withdraw from heroin is so sad. It's really sad.
We make several runs a day where somebody has overdosed on heroin and they're unconscious or they're not breathing or they're dead from using it, and it's become an epidemic.
You know, we used to think about the drug abuser as being, you know, the homeless person in the abandoned house, but that's not who's dying from heroin these days. The people who are dying from heroin these days are the people who live next door to you, the people who live down the street from you, the people who are in your family.
It's a disease, and once it has a hold of you, it wants you dead. Doesn't matter how much money your family makes, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't even matter if you're a good person. Because the truth is, a lot of these addicts, when the drugs are gone, they are good people. You know, but these drugs turn you into something completely different.
Your typical heroin addict is not the homeless person on the street anymore or the bad kids in class, you know, or anything like that. It can be your neighbor. It could be your child. It could be your spouse. It could be anybody anymore. You don't know.
Heroin doesn't discriminate. So, you know, every group of people that you can think of, we've made heroin overdoses on it. It doesn't care if you're a businessman or you're homeless or you're a teenager in school. You know, it just doesn't discriminate. We've made every range of person that you can think of.
People would warn me and say, you know, this is gonna happen, and not me. I come from a good home. I thought that there was a big difference between me and the person living underneath the bridge. And I thought I was immune in a sense. And you're not immune no matter where you come from.
More and more you will see people who normally think that this only touches or involves people that don't come from my neighborhood or that they're in some other socioeconomic class. They've gotten a real education because it does not discriminate. It will kill you, and it doesn't care who you are or where you come from or where you go to school or what you do, it will kill you.
You know, people think that if they live in a certain zip code or a certain area of town that they're immune to those types of things, that, you know, that doesn't happen in the East End or that doesn't happen, you know, in Prospect. That's just not true. It happens everywhere.
The people dying from heroin these days include people like the son of the doctor, the 25-year-old former Eagle Scout who's a Marine, the son of the lawyer, the mother of a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. Heroin plays no favorites. Heroin will kill every person heroin has the potential to kill every person who uses it.
Heroin doesn't discriminate. I've been around the healing place since 2011, and I've seen all walks of life. I've seen doctors, I've seen lawyers, I've seen nursing students, I've seen people from the West End, from the South End, from the East End. The thing is that, you know, heroin sees no colors, sees no bounds. It doesn't see money signs. All it sees is a victim.
Addiction is just not, I mean, you have this image in your mind who this person is that uses, and usually you have an image of someone in an alley that's dark and it's cold, and it's a, you know, you call them junkies. But Gabriel didn't look that way, and heroin is in suburbia. It's in the East End here in Louisville. It's everywhere. It's not just confined to people who parents are often judged. You know, they must not be good parents. They didn't come from a good home. They didn't come from loving parents. Gabriel had all that. Gabriel came from a great home. He was involved in a youth group. He played indoor soccer. He was on a traveling soccer team. He played basketball. He played the guitar. He had gigs here and there, and so he was very talented and very good looking. So to look at him, he didn't look like he was addicted to heroin until the end of his days. When the drug began to wear on him, you could tell.
One of the last things he ever told me was, it's a disease. It's a disease. I didn't think it was, but I believe it is. I believe it is.
Know that even once can screw up your whole life, whether it kills you or not, you know, it kills your soul.
It'll kill you. It'll ruin your life. It'll ruin your family's relationships. It'll ruin relationships with your best friends. It'll just tear the skin off your hide and turn you into a person you won't recognize.
The worst night of my life was when the coroner shows up.
Not only are you affecting yourself if you're abusing drugs, but you're also affecting all those people who love you.
I wake up and I realize he's gone. And there's nothing I can do about it.
Our son, he'll be 3. He has to grow up without knowing his dad. And I have to live without him. His mother has to live without him. She lost her baby. You know, it's just nothing but sorrow, and it sucks.
Don't do it. You're going to be faced with the decision, no matter who you are someday, whether you want to try something or walk away from it and just walk away from it. It's not, you don't have to do the drugs to be cool.
There's probably not an hour goes by that I don't think about that boy.
Mindset will kill you graveyard dead every time.
And it has changed our family forever. We're without this person that we loved and who was so loved. And there's a hole that's there that will never be filled.
From 5 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 o'clock at night, I hate Sundays, because that's the period of time that he died.
He made a bad decision, and it led to his death, and that does not have to happen.
And I wish that I didn't have to find it all out for myself, because I thought that I wasn't like the rest of them. And we all think that. I have so many friends, and we all thought that we were different than everybody else, and you're not. You're not immune.
It's all you think about. Your mind will never shut off. Your body screams for it, your mind aches for it, and you'll do anything to get it.
And there's usually only 3 options: locked up, covered up, or sobered up, as a friend of mine used to say.
There's just not the education to tell you that it only takes once to be hooked on heroin, literally once, and it can kill you. It can kill you the first time. You can do it 20 times and then just one day.
You know, when you're young, it seems fun, like you can just do it on the weekends. It's not so with heroin. It will take everything that you love and more. It will take the person that you wanted to be. It will take all the dreams that you had, and everyone you love, before you know it, will be gone. Because there's something that rules you, and that's heroin. You'll do anything to get it. So please, nobody wants this life. Nobody wants to end up in prison. Nobody wants to end up homeless. And the end result's always death. You know, it's not often that you see an old heroin addict. Honestly, once you start using it, don't take a long time.
You can die the first time that you use it. You don't have to be an addict. If you're a teenager and you use for the first time, you can die that first time, because a lot of the heroin that's coming out is impure.
I just never really believed he'd die. That was my mistake in this whole thing, is not being smart enough to realize that this was going to kill him.
I couldn't save him. And I owe it to him, who wanted to fight for his country so badly, that he's still fighting. He's still fighting, just in a different way now. Sorry.
By the time I was in high school, I was fully addicted. I couldn't go to class without having anything. I went from a straight A student who was most likely to succeed in her middle school in valedictorian to having 3 F's on my report card my senior year. And the only reason I passed was I think my teachers felt sorry for me. Then I ended up going to prison. I went to prison over trafficking drugs because, you know, here I was, like I said, a desperate, pitiful is what I was. I was pitiful addict. You know, I couldn't even get out of my bed in the morning. You know, that's all I thought about, and I wanted to quit so bad. I wanted to quit more than anything, and I knew I was hurting myself and everybody around me, but I couldn't. I didn't know how. So every day was exactly the same, and I lived to use, and I used to live. You know, I needed them more than I needed food or air to breathe, it felt like. So I ended up in prison, and by this time I'd had children who were taken away from me, because that's what needed to happen. Thank God, you know, thank God. And I ended up in prison, and after I got out of prison, I came to the healing place. And I had to learn how to relive my whole entire life. You know, my whole life. I didn't know anything but the drugs. Like, I had to learn how to have a job. I had to learn everything. And I have 3 years sober now, and I'm still working on those relationships. I'm still trying to mend the people's, you know, repair the people's hearts that I broke, people that loved me, my family, and my children. You know, a lot of things in my past I'm not proud of at all. I'm not proud of, and sometimes I think, what if, you know, I could have went on to college, I was a smart girl, all these things. But, you know, it didn't happen. I let the drugs take over. They were the most important thing. Luckily, now I get to rebuild my life, but I'm 31 and just now going back to college. What's so sad is that I'm very, very fortunate. I'm blessed, because a lot of people don't get that. You know, I was in prison for over a year. I didn't talk to my children, talk to my family once in a while. I sat there alone. And every night I would cry. Every single night I would cry. And you know what wasn't there? The thing that I gave my entire life up for. The thing that I did anything for. The thing that I hurt myself over. The thing that I hurt my family over. The thing that I hurt my babies over. The drugs. You know? That's what landed me there. That's what did that to me. In the end, it was the heroin. You know, thank God now I have a second chance. But like I said, a lot of people don't get that. And that took a lot of hurt and a lot of years of anger. And I can't even tell you how many times I've been in jail and laid on concrete with no pillow, no blanket, freezing, so sick that I'm shaking all over. None of my family wanted to come see me. They were done. I'd already stole off of them. I'd already broke their hearts. You know, heroin's nothing to mess around with. Like I said, it's a monster, and it makes you a monster. You're nothing like the person you used to resemble. You're a shell. The drug controls your whole entire life.